I'm with Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio, and welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, we're on a Whirlpool electric dryer that will not start. Okay, the tools that we'll need for this diagnosis are a putty knife or painter's tool, a common screwdriver, Phillips head, a 1/4 inch nut driver, a 3/16 nut driver, a flashlight, a multimeter or volt ohm meter, and some needle nose pliers. And we've unplugged it and we're at the back, and we're going to take off the back covers and check out our components behind it. With all of these gone, we have access to our main components. Alright, we're going to remove the connections to the fuse and check that guy first. We have our meter, and that would indicate a good fuse. So our fuse is good. So now we will move on. Okay, so we're at our high limit thermostat here, and we're going to remove the wires and check this guy out. And that is good. Alright, we're just going to take the wires off this thermostat. And while we're down here, we're just going to check the elements as well. Just make sure it's still in good operating condition. So we're going to check this thermostat here first. And that checks good. So does our element, and we're checking it to ground now, and it's not grounded out. So we either, there's one of only 3 things left, a door switch, timer, or motor. So we're going to go inside and check those things out now. Alright, so now we're going to check the door switch, and we're going to remove our lint filter and 2 Phillips screws up top. Now we can depress the 2 clips on the side here and gain access to our switch. And I'm just going to remove the electronic connectors. Here's the front of the switch right here. So we're going to put our meter on the 2 leads in the back. And we'll show you a good picture of that. We should hear a audible tone if this is good. So our switch is good. Now we're going to look at the timer and motor. Alright, so we're now going to gain access to the timer by removing this panel in the back. With that panel removed, we have access to the timer and the start switch, so we'll check both of those out right now. Alright, so we're just going to check out the start switch real quick, and according to the wiring diagram, we'll be checking between R1 and R2 right up here. And from our audible tone, we have a good start switch. We're now going to go to the timer. Alright, so right now our timer is in the off position, and we are going to check between the blue and black and turn it on. And right now we show a closed circuit, so that part is good. Just because we're down in here, we're going to check the heating portion, and that's the big red wire and the big black wire. And the timer's in the off position. We're going to turn it on, and it is also checking good, so our timer checks out. So if we, through process of elimination, have a bad motor, we can certainly check and find out what's wrong with it. But our timer is all set. All of our heating and fuses and thermostats and switches are good. So we need a new motor. Alright, so we're just going to replace our timer panel. Everything up there is good. Put all our 1/4" screws back in. We're going to leave the back open for now and clean it all out. And when you replace the motor, you have to remove the blower wheel, and we have access to that as well. So we're going to go check out the motor. Alright, we're going to gain access to our motor by removing the front panel here. And to start, we're going to release the clips up top. Put this in the service position. And we have down here, we have some 2 springs that we need to remove. So we'll just lift up and put those to the side. They go in 2 grooves that keep this from falling open. And we'll start at the bottom here with a 3/16 mounting bolts. Once those are out of the way, we'll remove the connectors from the from the door switch. And there's one little clip on top and two bolts, 2 3/16 bolts holding the rest of it on. Got one out of the way, we'll remove the other. Once we remove this, the whole cabinet is free. And can then be removed. Okay, so now we will relieve the tension on the idler pulley, remove the belt, and the whole drum can be removed now. And now we have access to our motor. Alright, so we're down on our motor, and I have my meter set to ohms, and on the schematic we're going from 4M through the start winding to 5M, and we should have between 2.4 and 3.8 ohms, and we are completely open, so we have confirmed that we have a bad motor. So we're now going to reinstall the drum. And we'll just slide this guy in there and place it in there. Once you got in the general position, I just spin it around to make sure all the felt lines up right on the rollers. And we'll get our belt about in the middle. There's usually a mark on there where the belt's been going. And we'll come down here, support the drum with one arm, get the idler pulley in its spot, push it back to release the tension, and wrap the belt around the motor pulley, and just let it sit there for a minute. Now when we're reinstalling this, we can start 2 of our bolts at the bottom. Just get them on there for a minute. And when we reinstall the front panel, we can just line it up for now, and it will stay there. Once we're actually on it. One side, push the drum back, and it'll stay there. We can then align the felt part with the drum, and then start our 2 bolts at the top. One on each side. And once those are started, we can just go ahead and tighten those up. tighten the ones up at the bottom. We will reattach the connectors on the door switch. They can go on either side. It just needs to complete a circuit. Put our little clamp back on. Close the lid. Engage the connectors. And now on the bottom here where we took off our springs, on the hinges, there are two grooves at the very end that you just slide the spring on and then attach it to the bottom of the cabinet. And just open it to make sure everything is good. Now we can put our front panel back on. And there's two guide holes at the bottom. One on each side, and then engage the clips on each side. And the front is together. Now we'll put the back blower housing and cover back on. Okay, now we're going to put the blower housing back on, and we'll just slide it up through this hole. There's a set of wires up there to be careful of. If you tilt the dryer forward, it goes down much nicer. If those get in your way, just hold them for a moment, slide that guy in, and then at the bottom we'll just have to get it over the bottom of the cabinet. And line up the mounting holes at the four corners. Put our bolts back in. If you're ever going to clean your own dryer and get to this point, it's always good to take this off. There's always stuff in the bottom there that stays in there. Now we can put our back panel back on. And there's a lip at the bottom right here that lines up at the bottom down there. So we'll just line that up, tilt it forward, and everything should line up right. And we will re-secure our back cover. Put our electrical cover back on. And now we just have to, there's two more up front to mount the blower housing to the top of the cabinet, and we are all set. Alright, so we just have two more Phillips screws. I always cut my hand over this just to make sure if it doesn't work out, we don't have to go all the way to the back and pick them out again. And with those mounted, we can reinsert our lint filter. Our dryer's all back together. Thank you for watching another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.